starting to look like a Skyline finally. These headlights have been off the car for, it's got to be close to a year. So the car is ready to be started. Actually, the car has been started. This will be the third time starting the car. It has yet to actually touch the ground though, and that's because I've been chasing leaks. When you do a project of this magnitude, it's bound to be that you'll be chasing leaks. And when I first started the car, I was going to record it, but I knew there was going to be leaks, and it would be anticlimactic, and it'd be a scramble to find and, you know, tighten everything as it's leaking. So the first time I started it, I was having a whole bunch of coolant leaks once the engine got up to temperature. This is the part of the ISR intake manifold, and basically the coolant system and how it, you know, branches off into 4 separate lines that go underneath your intake manifold. So you have these 4 connections here, and you have 4 connections here. And they all pretty much leaked. And that is because these worm clamps that came with the intake manifold, yeah, they all suck. Terrible, terrible quality. And another thing is that you will either be plugging or looping your OEM coolant track. I don't know how to explain it, but your factory intake manifold had coolant run through it. So you have like 1 or 2 coolant branches or T's back in this corner that would have ran through your intake manifold. So since I capped those, I didn't cap them and tighten them enough, so they were leaking there too. So that was one issue. Another issue is that there was a whole bunch of air in the coolant system, which is to be expected, especially since I looped the coolant that would go through my turbo, because my turbo doesn't take coolant anymore. The factory turbo did take coolant, so I looped the feed and drain together, so there was probably air stuck in there too. I keep pointing there. Really, it's down here. Another issue I had was no oil circulation through the cooler / oil filter. And I'm debating on making a separate video. Basically, this is a universal kit from G+. Cheap, you know, eBay stuff. And the only problem is that these two, I guess the inlet and outlet, they were flipped. And I've never done this before, but I did follow instructions, and the instructions were actually wrong. If you look how an oil filter works, it goes in on the outside of the filter and it comes out through the center of the filter, and their instructions were just wrong. So, you know, like an idiot, I followed it without actually knowing how a filter functions. So fixed it. I now have oil pressure, and the oil temperature is reading. Before, the oil temperature wouldn't change and the oil pressure wouldn't change, which wasn't good. So now when I start the car and it warms up, the oil temperature will rise with the engine, and my pressure will be higher than it was before, because I just simply wasn't getting any flow out of the block. Because I'm assuming there's like a check valve or something in the oil filter. I really don't know how that works, but anyways, I digress. The last leak that I had, which I just buttoned up, was a power steering leak. Yeah, power steering fluid kind of sucks to trace down when it's running down your frame. So there are 3 lines that go into your power steering reservoir. You have the main line that goes to the pump, and then you have 2 other lines that come from your steering racks, I'm assuming. And one of them down low was leaking. I also trimmed back the guards here for the wheel well on each side. One, because as you can see, I got a wide tire up front, so when I turn the car, every now and then you hear it scrape. And another thing is that this external wastegate is just going to melt that flimsy plastic. My battery setup right now is the Optima lithium ion red top. This little kill switch here. And we'll check to make sure that the lights work, and they do. The Haltech Elite 2000 is wired in. I have it ran up to my laptop right now. I'm nervous. It's like this is the 3rd time I'm starting the car, but it doesn't matter. I'm still nervous. I am expecting sheer and utter disappointment. But anyways, enough with the talk. Let's get her started. All right, so we got our gauges firing up. ECU has power. I guess I'll show that. So ECU has power. I'm gonna connect the ECU to the computer, and we can now start the car. Make sure it's in neutral real quick. All right, here we go. Oh yeah, she's got it. so we have a nice AFR, perhaps a little rich. It'll even out. Good volts. We're pulling a vacuum. Oil pressure is 58. I don't know why LEDs and cameras don't work. So this is what the ECU is trying to get. This is what the air-fuel ratio is. So you can see it's pretty good. ECU is calling for 14.4. We are actually getting 14.6. And my gauge in my car is showing me 14.3. So we're within, like, you know, a few decimals. So I don't see any new leaks yet. We'll let it get warm before we do anything else. Sounds so good revving though. I don't know if you'll be able to hear the turbo on the camera, but I'll try. Sounds so damn good. So that's the car as she stands. Let's have some tuning to work out, obviously. Idle's pretty okay. Revs with a hesitation, but once it's up there, it sounds nice. A lot of pops and bangs. It's definitely not tuned, and it's a disrespect to the poor Subaru. We will we'll find a tuner, and we'll get her tuned, hopefully without issue. No hissing, so we know that there's no coolant leaks. We have good oil pressure. Oil temp was starting to rise with the coolant temp. And, phew, I think we're getting close, fellas. I think we're getting close. No fuel leaks either, which is pretty impressive. I like these AN lines. They really worked out well. I'll keep you guys posted. Follow me on Instagram if you want to, you know, up to date real quick. I post more details on there than I do YouTube, honestly. But I'd like to get into YouTube a little more once I get this car rolling. This thing is so cool. I cannot wait to get her on the road. All right, peace out.